First of all, I do apologize for any noises you might hear. That is notifications for messages, emails, texts, you name it, maybe even potential calls, mostly spam calls. I'm sure a lot of us have been getting those. That might occur during this video. So the other day I was thinking about this, and it was mostly because somebody here on YouTube had done a top 5 best and worst list of episodes for Rescue Rangers, and the one that they left out, I believe, the one they left out was Double O Chipmunk, and I was kind of surprised by that, but hey, that's their list, go with it as they will. But it got me thinking about that episode, and I know I've talked about it a lot, but to me, I stand by what I said. It is one of my favorite, if not the favorite episode in the history of Rescue Rangers. I mean, to me, this episode is what started what I consider the femme fatale guys, if you will, the femme fatale guys that, other female characters, prominent female characters in the Disney afternoon would take upon themselves. Tailspin with bringing down Babyface or bringing down Baby. We saw it with Rebecca. With Puppy Love, towards the end, we saw it somewhat with Peg helping out her son, and so on. It's one of those, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say tropes, but one of those moments, if you will, one of those moments in time to where if you want to ask yourself where it all began, you don't have to look any further than Rescue Rangers. Look at Double O Chipmunk, look at its follow-up with Mind Your T's and Q's, and there you go. No doubt about it. But when I look at Rescue Rangers, and I look at Double O Chipmunk, again, it sticks by me, not sticks by me, but it sticks with me, I should say, that to me, this is the episode that more so, blatantly more than I think Disney would even want to admit, basically outright teased, if not outright admitted, that they were going to put Dale and Gadget together in the future. That had they gone through with doing an animated film like they originally had planned, through Disney MovieToons after the DuckTales movie back in the 90s, had they gone through with that as planned, I have no doubt in my mind, no doubt whatsoever, that would have been the opportunity for them to pair Dale and Gadget together. And I think anybody listening to this or watching this, they understand that. They can see that. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the episode. Go back and watch it. See how Gadget was probably impressed more so than anything, more so than everybody else, I should say, with how Dale was able to take a tuxedo, turn it into a spy suit and all that. And then how she felt, for him, when he was down in the dumps, and probably being the only one on the team that understands what he's going through. Tell me when I'm telling lies when you go back and see those moments. Because to me, she didn't have to go all the way out of her way, literally, to make him feel better, because all she had to do was just get the guys together, have them apologize, and then leave it at that. Or at least have them apologize and test out Dale's theory and leave it at that. But no, she went completely, blank, she basically went balls to the wall, excuse my language here, with, what she did. She went balls to the wall here. And again, that is not just a sign of a very good friend with a very good heart, but that is a sign of somebody that probably feels something more than just a friendship with this individual. Because again, she went far. She disguised herself as a femme fatale, as her so-and-so cousin. She kisses Dale on the lips. Literally, she didn't have to do that. But she takes a moment, and then before she leaves, because again, this is what gets me. She tells him, "I know you won't let me down, Super Spy, takes a moment, and then literally kisses him. She didn't have to do that, but she did. She did. She could have just, she could have just said, I know you won't let me down, super spy. And then everything in this, let him fall down after kind of like caressing his face and then saying her line later of, good luck, remember the password deal. But she didn't. She kissed him. So to me, this again was probably the most blatantly obvious hint that Disney was going to go in this direction, because they didn't have to have her go through all that in story, but they did. And here's the thing. They could have said, look, this is okay, but let's take this part out. We don't want to make it seem like we're favoring one over the other. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They said, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And there you go. And like I said, just go and watch the episode. Go watch the episode and you'll see exactly the moments that lead up to it. And you'll see exactly what I mean. And I also want you to look at episodes like Mind Your T's and Q's, RoboCat. I want you to look at the end of Dale Beside Himself, if you will. And even look at how Dale takes advantage, but she's very receptive of it, at the beginning of Categories Not Included. Take a look at all these moments. And there's plenty more more than I can count. And as I said before, it just feels like they were hinting at that happening. That's what it felt like. And to me, Double O Chipmunk was probably the most blatantly obvious hint. And that's no joke. That's no joke. I guarantee you, a lot of us as kids back then, when this episode first premiered, a lot of us with our pens, or even if we had computers, with writing programs and all that in our homes, but with our pens, our pencils, wrote in little notebooks our fanfics, if you will, of Dale and Gadget being together. Or if we were artistic, like my older sister is, if we were artistic and we would draw the characters. My sister drew Gadget a lot in different outfits, believe me, and different hair colorings. But anyway, like I'm saying, if we were artistic, you cannot tell me there was some of us that after that episode drew them together. That being Dale and Gadget. Even to this day, it happens. And all because of the fact that everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about to be true. And that is this episode, along with all the other hints we got, is the most blatantly obvious episode, if not episode, but most blatantly obvious hint, visually, right in your face, that they were going to put these two together. Now, this episode, and Gadget doing what she did, becoming the femme fatale and all that, this episode, as I've also mentioned before, opened the door, and I've talked about this. Here on my channel, on my YouTube channel. It opened the door for other cartoons to do this. They went through what I consider the femme fatale phase. And what I mean by that is when you look at the following series, Tailspin, that came out a year later, there's an episode called Bringing Down Baby or Bringing Down Babyface. And what they need to do to make this happen, and everything, is they literally have to disguise themselves as mobsters. And Rebecca becomes a freaking starlet femme fatale. And if that's not all, skip a year, because they didn't do it in Darkwing, but go to Goof Troop, go to Puppy Love, and you see what Peg does for her son to help him out. To me, if you want to look back at where it all began, Double O Chipmunk, and then the episode that came out a few episodes later, Mind Your T's and Q's, basically set the tone for that. It set the tone for that to happen. But unlike Mind Your T's and Q's, Double O Chipmunk, like I said, is probably the most blatantly obvious hint at how much Gadget really cares about Dale, probably more so than Chip, let's be honest. And if that's not enough, going to Mind Your T's and Q's, there's a scene, where they're looking around and Dale literally comes back from searching, and he comes back with who? Gadget. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, you got a hint there. RoboCat's a big, good old hint visually there. You got the ending of Dale beside himself. You got the ending of Song of the Nightingale. Yeah, that episode that came out before Double O Chipmunk. Gadget basically chose Dale to be the first pilot to test out the new Ranger Ring. Yeah. She could have chose Chip. She could have chose Monterey. Nope. She went with Dale. And then the way she hugged him at the end. I mean, come on. Too many obvious hints before Double O Chipmunk and after. And Disney can come out, Tad Stones and his team can come out and deny, if they want, and they probably will, that was not the intention. But guess what? It definitely seemed like it was. And I don't think no getting around it, scooting around it is going to hide the fact that, yeah, we know what you were doing, no matter how you want to play it off. No matter how you want to play it off. And to me, Double O Chipmunk, again, was the biggest hint visually and most obviously that they wanted to put these two together. And if you don't believe me that I feel that's the case, that's the reason, I want to take you back to something. If you're a Sonic fan, an Archie Sonic fan as well, Ian Flynn and Aaliyah Baker both said in an interview, or I think in a Q&A or something on his Bumblecast podcast, somebody had brought up Spark of Life, which was the miniseries in the Sonic Universe comic book, and kind of served as an extension of Nicole's origins that were first told from a reboot perspective, first told in the Sonic Digest books known for the origin stories. It was basically an extension, if not full-on origin story for Nicole outside of what I mentioned. And it's here when this bit gets brought up that Ian Flynn and Aaliyah Baker, who are husband and wife, I believe, they both admit that they were surprised with what they were able to get away with when it came to the story, because it has been blatantly obvious since the reboot began that, yeah, there was not going to be a Sonic and Sally relationship dynamic anymore unless the book would have continued, and then I believe there would have been. But no, instead, since the beginning of the reboot, there was a lot of obvious hinting visually, if not referentially, a lot of hinting of Sally and Nicole being an item, being more than just best friends, if you know what I mean. And what Ian and Leah said in that interview was they were surprised with the LGBTQ lesbian undertones they were able to get away with between both Sally and Nicole. They were surprised with what they could do. And when they say something like that, that tells you that they know that we see exactly what they have planned. That the plan from a romance standpoint, had the book continued, was to put Sally with Nicole. Despite fans wanting Sally and Sonic together, the most obvious to avoid that whole, well, Sonic can't have a girlfriend mandate, as it's called, if you believe it. You believe that mandate. The best way to avoid all that, put Sally with Nicole and just march forward. Which I'm sure a lot of fans would have been cool with. But still, when you have Ian Flynn and Aaliyah Baker come out and admit it themselves, that tells you that they know fans can see what they have planned. They know that it's obvious. That to them, fans know that it's obvious, I should say, of what direction from a romance standpoint outside of Antoine and Bunny they want to go with the main characters. So they acknowledged it. They didn't hide it. They acknowledged it in their own way. And Tad Stones can come out and say, oh, well, Dale and Gadget, that was never going to be a plan and all that. He can come out and say that if he wants to in defense, but the truth is, he and his team did exactly similar, situations, with Dale and Gadget in this series, more so than Chip and Gadget, more so than Chip and Tammy, more so than Dale and Foxglove. And by doing more of D and G and giving them the undertones they did, and Double O Chipmunk being the most obvious, like Spark of Life was probably the most obvious, for Sally and Nicole, It's like, who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Who are you trying to fool? You're not kidding. You're not trying to fool or kid anybody, because people can see what you're doing. They can see it. They can see it. You know, they can be blind in both eyes and they can see what you're doing. It's just too obvious. Way too obvious, in my opinion. And that's why I stick by not only Dale and Gadget being a romantic pairing, I believe would have officially happened had the movie back in the 90s by Disney MovieToons, come to be as it was being planned out. But to me, Double O Chipmunk solidified it, more so than any of the other interactions we've seen before it and after. But let me know if you guys agree. Do you think I'm just grasping for straws? Or do you think I have a case here? And do you agree with me that it's similar to how Ian Flynn and Aaliyah Baker had those LGBTQ lesbian undertones with Sally and Nicole in Spark of Life? Do you feel that there's a similarity where Tad Stones and his crew did undertones, romantic undertones, to indicate Dale and Gadget being more than just friends in the future? Or at least that's the direction they were heading in, had the original animated film been made a reality. Let me know. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until next time, guys, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, helps me out in a big way. Also, check out the Teespring store. Links will be in the description at the bottom of it. Also, check out my other where you can find my content elsewhere, from rumble.com at BWRoses, odyssey.com at BWRoses, deviantart.com at BVW1979. Also, check me out at VENMO.com at BWRoses. Also, check me out at all your favorite audio and, at times, potential video podcast affiliates like iHeartRadio, Spotify for Podcasters, Pandora, Audible, iTunes, Radio Public, you name it. Whatever podcast service is out there that you listen to, I am on it, potentially. But guys, give me your thoughts. Love to hear from you on all this. Do you agree or not agree? And until then, I am out.